All right, we got recording. Get your camera off, get that on, so everybody's seen or present. We're going to present our lesson here this week. If you're behind on any assignments from last week, get caught up. You don't want to get behind already. You want to avoid getting behind at all if you can. But let's look at our cybersecurity class. Go to the grade screen. I didn't do my assignment last week. I'm one of the ones people got to get caught up. I'm already behind. But we had is the email a scam assignment. And then last week was 1.01. We're looking at 1.02 and 1.03. Notice we got 2 assignments due this week. So we're going to look at 1.02 and 1.03. We have 2 things this week, and then 1 thing next week, and then 2 things there. So we're kind of bouncing back and forth. But let's do the 2 assignments for this week, 1.02, 1.03. Intrusions. Intruder alert. Yeah. Any sort of forcible or illegal activity on a digital network is considered intrusion. So these unauthorized activities almost always jeopardize the safety of a network and sensitive data. And intruder attacks can be mild or serious or anything in between. Some attackers just like the thrill of getting into a system they shouldn't be, while others intend to do bad things when they get in there, steal things, disrupt things, steal information. So here's some common examples. Website defacement. You see this every once in a while, an attack on a website that changes its visual appearance. That's usually a political thing, some group, some animal activists go out to some meat producer and hack their website and change it, right? Saying, oh, these are murderers. It's like, well, it was an animal. It was a cow and it's delicious, but, Website defacement. Unauthorized access. Using an unattended logged in workstation without permission. That could be someone actually that works at the place that sees someone else left their computer logged in and they go use it for things they shouldn't be. Unauthorized access. Data exfiltration, not infiltration, exfiltration. That's copying a database outside the system, like containing credit card numbers or other sensitive information. They go pull that information out of the network. A data breach, that's viewing sensitive data, including like payroll records, medical information, anything like that without authorization. Packet sniffing, running a packet sniffer on a network to capture unencrypted sensitive data. That's something that's just gathering all this information. They go through it later. War dialing, all kinds of good phrases used here. That's dialing into an unsecured modem and gaining internal network access. Find some modem that's not firewall protected, logging in through that modem, and then gaining access. Phishing, that's a term we're more and more familiar with. That's like posing as an executive, calling the help desk, or resetting the executive's email password and using the new password. Oh, yeah, this is Bob, the CEO. I can't remember my password. Can you have that reset? Here, send it to my phone here and give my phone number or something, right? And resetting the some CEO or some other executive by taking advantage because it's a large company and the secretary doesn't know everybody. Password cracking, attempting to gain unauthorized access using common passwords or algorithms to guess passwords. That's why they say you should use complicated passwords. Makes it harder to have an algorithm find it. All right, there's 3 types of intruders here. So anyone who accesses a computer or network without permission is an intruder. Not all intruders are the same, and not all are considered hackers. There's 3 different kinds, and they can all wreak havoc. But the first one's a masquerader. The masquerader does not have authorized access, but they penetrate the system's controls to exploit some legitimate user's account. So they act like they're this legitimate user and get in through their account and then usually do bad things. For example, if an official user inadvertently leaves their computer open and logged in, a coworker or someone else passing by may hop on and act as a masquerade attacker. Generally, the masquerader is likely to be an outsider. Okay, a misfeasor. May have heard the term misfeasance, but a misfeasor is a legitimate user, so they have permission to be in the network, who accesses programs, information, or resources for which access not authorized. So they're getting the things that they're not supposed to be able to get into. They are an authorized user of the network, but they don't have access to everything, and they're getting the things they're not supposed to. So it's an authorized user, but misuses access privileges. They call them a misfeasor, and it's generally an insider. So masqueraders are generally outsiders, misfeasors are insiders. And then there's a clandestine user. A clandestine user seizes control of the system and uses this control to evade the audit logs and access controls or to suppress audit collection. Audit logs is a record that keeps track of everyone that logs in and what they visit while they're in the network. So it's recordings of user actions, like number of failed login attempts. It also keeps track of all of that. So they find ways to evade that. And a clandestine user could be either insider or outsider. Doesn't matter. One or the other. So how well do you know intruders? Here's a check your knowledge. Move each characteristic the intruder it describes. Someone who's likely an outsider without authorized computer access. Maybe a masquerader, right? A user who could be either inside or outside. That's clandestine. Authorized but misuses their privilege. I'll leave the rest of those if you want to go through those to make sure you know them, because the quiz is going to have questions like that. So, but there's the first three answered for you. Let's go to page 3. How hackers roll. So various names are often used to describe those who can defeat computer system security systems. Hacker and intruder are both terms for individuals who have the skills to gain unauthorized access to computer systems. But not all are the same. So not long ago, hacker was a neutral term for a skilled computer user. Not doing anything wrong, say, man, you're a hacker. Huh? You must be really good at computers. You're a hacker. Now hacker is evolved into describing someone's intent on illegal or malicious system intrusion. So hacker is no longer a good thing. Used to be a compliment. I mean, someone who's really good at writing computer code or using computers or working with computers, you were a hacker. But now it's evolved. So there's white hat hackers. These hackers are considered to be the good guys of cybersecurity. They're hired to work with organizations to strengthen the security of their systems. A white hat has permission to gain access to the restricted networks and computer systems with the intent of finding flaws. How did you get in there? I said it's okay that you got in there, but I didn't give you access. So now tell me how you got in there so we can fix that and nobody else can do it. It's important to note white hat hackers are the only ones who operate legally and ethically. Any other hackers likely to face some legal consequences, could be arrested, be prosecuted. But white hat hackers have permission to break into systems because they're not trying to do anything bad when they get in there. They're just trying to show the open doors that you've left. Black hat hackers. These type of hackers attempt to gain unauthorized access in systems or networks for malicious reasons. They inflict damage by compromising security systems and altering functions of websites and networks. There's gray hat hackers, where sometimes it's not black and white. Gray hat hackers try to gain access to networks and computer systems in the same way that black hat hackers do, but not necessarily with malicious intent. I just want to get in there. Their goal is to disclose all the loopholes and vulnerabilities to the law enforcement or intelligence agencies. Their hacking is usually done with the intent to protect, but it's still illegal because they weren't given permission. The white hat hacker has permission from the network administrator. Yes, I give you permission to try to break into our systems so we know how to fix those loopholes. The gray hat hacker does the same thing. They're just not given permission in advance. But they mean to get in there and then tell the company how they did it. Hey, this is how I got into your system. It's just that they can still be arrested for it because they did not have permission to do that. On rare occasions, gray hats have been known to demand money for flying. Look, I found a way into your network. I could have done all kinds of nasty stuff. If you pay me, then I'll tell you how I got in. I didn't do anything nasty in there, but I was in your network. And they may provide proof they were in your network. But they say, pay me, and I'll let you know. Blue hat hackers. These hackers are typically out for revenge, right? They could be malicious, but usually that anger is directed at like a particular person or a particular company. They seek revenge for some type of wrong that they think happened. So blue hats are typically new to hacking because They didn't intend to hack, but they're mad at this company or mad at this person. So now they want to figure out how to hack and do nasty things. Here's a new term that's come around, a hacktivist. A hacktivist. Someone who uses hacking to bring about political change or social change. Hacktivist groups attempt to obtain confidential information to promote some political agenda and often target media, financial, or political groups. Hacktivists might attempt to gather and release sensitive information to the public or even deface websites. You might have heard of groups like Anonymous. They were really big for quite a while. I haven't heard much from Anonymous lately. WikiLeaks, that made the news for a long time, or LulzSec. Anonymous is a well-known hacktivist group made of many individuals with no known central command structure. The group's first widely known operation was an attack against the Church of Scientology back in 2008. The mission was to take the organization's website offline and disrupt all of their communications. It was started in response to the Church of Scientology's attempts to remove material from a highly publicized interview with Scientologist Tom Cruise from the internet, 2008. There was an interview with him. It went to the internet. Scientology didn't like a lot of the stuff that was exposed through the interview, so they tried to get it all removed from the internet, and that caused this group, Anonymous, to respond and try to hack back into them and release a bunch of stuff found there. Page 4. The cyber kill chain. Kind of sounds like a movie, doesn't it? The cyber kill chain is a series of steps that traces the stages of a cyber attack from its early stages to the theft of the data. The kill chain helps a cybersecurity professional understand and win the battle on ransomware, security breaches, advanced persistent attacks. So here are the stages of the cyber kill chain. All right. Number 1, planning/scoping. In this stage, the attacker determines what methods they're going to use to complete their attack. Number 2 is reconnaissance and discovery. This is where the attacker discovers what is there to know about a target and what security do they have. So weaponization, the attacker uses an exploit to gain access. That's code that takes advantage of a vulnerability or security flaw. This could involve several steps. Step 4, post-exploitation, lateral discovery, and spread. So the attacker performs a deeper network scan with the intention to discover more information about the network and use this to identify any assets of interest that he wants to get into. Action on objectives. Here the attacker uses the access that he gained to secretly copy information from his target. And then finally, retreat. Once the attacker has achieved the initial goal without being detected, he might maintain an advanced persistent threat, might just monitor, may stay in the network and just monitor, or he could pull out of the network. The attacker will remove any trace of his or her presence to prevent attempts to identify where the source of the attack was, right? They try to cover their tracks where nobody can figure out it was them, their computer that accessed the network. As you can see, one doesn't just accidentally hack a network, penetrate a network. A lot of thought goes into it, from planning to intruding to leaving without being detected. Attacks are almost always planned and deliberate, very much on purpose. People don't accidentally hack somebody. Let's talk about this, the dark web. So the internet actually is made of 3 layers. There's the surface web. That's all the websites that you just access daily. Surface web. The deep web, which is one that may not necessarily be published, and there's a lot more out there. And the dark web, which you can't even find through Google search or anything, Bing or any of those. So the surface web, the top layer, is what we commonly use to access your news, your banking, your entertainment, your information. These show up on search engines. The deep web is the next layer, and it's got information that cannot be found on a search engine. These sites are hidden, and a lot of times they're password protected. So you have to know the actual web address to go there because you can't find it somewhere. Could be online banking, could be draft blog posts, corporate virtual private networks. All that's part of the deep web. Then there's the dark web that you hear about. That's the deepest layer. It's a network of untraceable activity on the internet that typically requires the use of special software to get access. And you can't just open up your internet browser and just go to it. Sometimes you have special software to even access these websites. And navigating the dark web requires direction because everything's hidden. So there's no, like, you don't know how to get from this page to that page, what to do. You got to have a lot of information. But there's a lot of stuff out there. Okay. Complete the reading in this lesson, understand the concepts, and complete the quiz. Let's look at the quiz that goes with the first lesson we looked at. Again, you have 3 attempts. Which type of intrusion involves an attacker logging into an unsecured modem and getting internal access? So you need to learn those terms that we had on that page. Is that a data breach? Is it a packet sniffing? What is it? What type of users? Know the difference between clandestine user, masquerader, or a misfit user, or an underground user. What type of hackers are out for revenge and are often new? Is it black, white, gray, or blue? At what stage of the cyber kill chain might a cyber criminal discover what there is to know and what systems in place? So you got to go back. You may need to go back to the lesson while you're taking this, because you can always save and exit down here. Why was the dark web originally created? Oh, did it tell us that? Because I know why it was created. It was actually created by the government. The government created the dark web, but I don't know if it told us that. Hold on, I'm going to go back and look at the lesson, because I don't remember it telling us where the dark web came from. But yeah, the dark web was created by the government as a place to put information that their spies and other people could access that nobody knew was there. Oh, I guess I skipped this right here. Cyber criminals rely on exchanging information with each other using web pages that are not indexed by search engines. These type of services provide cyber criminals with methods to securely exchange information, and are often used for hiding illegal activity like fraud, extremism, terrorism, and black markets. Understanding what these sites are and investigating them is an important source of counterintelligence, which is activities designed to prevent spying and sabotage. Since the dark web provides anonymity, cyber criminals enjoy the ability to share information without the fear of being uncovered. However, that also allows investigators to infiltrate whatever they discover. Stolen data like passwords and usernames are newly developed hacking tools. Cybersecurity professionals must continuously monitor security intelligence websites, blogs, and news groups. So yeah, cybersecurity can move down through the deep web and the dark web without anyone knowing that they're cybersecurity, just like the criminals can do that. Did you know? Here you go. The dark web was actually created by the U.S. government to allow spies to exchange information safely and anonymously. U.S. military researchers developed the technology known as Tor, the onion router, in the mid-1990s and released it in the public domain for everyone to use. So yes, the dark web was created by our government. Here's examples of threat intelligence feed providers. Symantec. I'll take us to their website. Vulnerability response guidelines. How to report some problem with security. So these are all different websites that will provide you some help. Dark reading. This is all information. Black Hat News. Look at this. So this is a whole cybersecurity site here to keep up with the latest cybersecurity threats, the newly discovered vulnerabilities, the data breach information, emerging trends, right here by subscribing to Dark Reading. So you can learn a lot of interesting things about that. Let me see. Cybersecurity real time. Let's see if this pulls up today. I was trying to access this the other day, and it wasn't pulling up. I don't think it's going to pull up today either. The cyber map is not pulling up. I'll bribe you a Chick-fil-A. Cyber security map. I'll give you a free haircut when we're there. Hacker map. Let's see. Oliver's not feeling it. Nah. Maybe this one will open today. This is a live cyber threat map. This is a website that tracks cyber attacks around the world. And you can see up the top, today there have been 6,602,331 attacks that this site has been able to monitor. Every day there's millions of hackers out there trying to access information, trying to hack. That's why you get those crazy emails where they're trying to get information from you. That's why you get different things on your phone. They're trying to get into people's information any way they can get into it. So this is just a little interesting graphic display that shows a lot of these attacks live as they're being detected by their software. And notice a lot of them are in the same country. Brazil to Brazil, the U.S. to U.S., U.S. to Mexico, all kinds of stuff. So all kinds of, and there's a lot going on. I've seen some that are much more active than this. I don't know that this is detecting as much as some of the other sites. So I was trying to get to the Kaspersky. I know Kaspersky's got a really good one. Let's see what this other Radware shows. Oh, this gives a lot of information here. Oh, look at all the attacks they're monitoring. Wow. Top attackers, the U.S. 52%, Brazil 32%. Top attacked, 41% of attacks are on the U.S. And this is just in the last hour. If we want to look at the last 24 hours, does that change it much? Yeah, there's a higher percentage for U.S. Top network attack vectors. Top application violations, access violations, injections, data theft, exploits, all kinds of stuff. Oh, I was looking at Oliver's. It just doesn't give you a total on this page, but we can collapse that and see more of the map at the same time of all these cyber attacks that are going on around the world being monitored by Radware, powered by Radware's threat intelligence software, which they have a link to. But yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And it has a color code down here too. Web attackers, DDoS attackers, intruders, scanners, and anonymizers. So there's a lot going on. So, all right, I like looking at that. Let's go on to the next lesson. Like I said, we had 2 lessons today before we run out of time. Cyber attacks. What's the difference between a passive and an active attack? Some cyber criminals quietly attempt to gain access to valuable information like your credit card numbers, your username, your password. These are passive attacks because they don't leave a trace they were there. They get in somewhere, they read that, they may copy it, and then they leave. Others seek to cause havoc by seizing and destroying vital system resources. That was like the attack on NWAC last month. It was a very active attack because they were holding their computer system hostage and saying, pay us $5 million, we'll give your computers back. So active attacks. During active attacks, hackers have unauthorized access to private information on computer systems and networks, and often the victims are immediately aware of the attack. The NWAC was because all of their printers started shooting out messages that they were under attack, that they had to pay this ransom. All the printers in their whole network. These attacks might involve viruses, malware, denial of service, or password cracking, and they might even seek a ransom, which they did. They didn't get paid, but they seek their ransom. They were trying to get $5 million. Or else they might want revenge from being fired from a job. So maybe that's why they get in and take over the network. Passive attacks are more subtle. Here, the criminals get access to confidential information. They'll avoid being detected for as long as possible. And from there, they typically sell this information on the dark web because there's lots of hackers and scammers that love to get a hold of your credit card information or other information. So passive attackers use untraceable accounts or public workstations with false credentials to cover their tracks. Some sophisticated attackers use internet service providers that specialize in anonymity. So there's different providers that are not necessarily scrupulous and say, you want to remain anonymous, we can let you do that. Because I'll tell you right now, Oliver, if you're English, insider versus outsider threats. So potential security threats lurk around every corner. The security professional's job is to recognize and stop all the threats, right? Look at the difference between the insider and outsider threats. So let's take a look at this. Security threats, insider versus outsider. Insider, they come from within an organization, where the outsider threats are from those not associated with the organization. Okay, we can figure that one out. The source. Insider, that includes negligent or criminal employees. They can also include business partners or former employees. Outside threats come from cyber criminals, competitors, and hacktivists. The motives. Insiders are motivated by financial gain or personal revenge. That pretty much covers it. Outsiders are motivated by financial gain or the thrill of just wreaking havoc. I'm going to make your life miserable just for the fun of it. Methods. Insiders take advantage of employees who forgot to log out of their workstation, or they use credentials to obtain private information. Outsiders use social engineering, electronic data theft, DDoS, attacks, that's denial of service, or malware. You're losing focus? Knowledge check, you know the difference between passive and active. Compare these cyber attacks. A passive attacker leaves behind a trail. Most of the time, not, right? They try not to. There's 4 questions. An outside attacker already has access to the company's resources. No, that's usually an insider, right? They've already got network access. So false. The outside got to go get the access. An insider attack could come from a current or past employee who has access. Absolutely. That's why it's an insider, because they're inside the network already. Active attacks tend to involve viruses, malware, denial of service, or password cracking. Absolutely. It could be any of those. So. All right, page 4. Everything's risk. So let's discover how hardware, software, data, and networks are all susceptible to cyber attacks. So let's look at software first. Software wants to update all the time, right? Software is often the number one target when it comes to attacks. Therefore, it's critical to perform routine software updates and security patches, because that's what those updates are about. It's like, I just updated it 3 days ago. What's it? Well, probably what's happened is they have discovered some loophole that some hacker used for someone to break into their software. And so now they've written a patch to correct that, where you can't get into the software that way anymore. And that's why they just sent another update, because it just happened. Criminals often hijack outdated applications to steal or cause damage. So if you're not updating your software, it's usually updated because they found more things that hackers have discovered. Software could be your internet browser, outdated antivirus software, just any of your applications, utilities, operating systems, anything. Hardware. While software tends to be the most targeted, it's also vulnerable to be hardware. Older PCs, your laptops and notebooks that don't have built-in security features. They may not have the latest firmware. Firmware is the permanent software that's programmed into your read-only memory. It's not something you installed. It's something that's permanently in there. Or self-encrypting hard drives. These features don't prevent threats and attacks 100% of the time, but they do improve the security of your computer. Examples of hardware is like your central processing unit, your random access memory, and your hard drives. All right, so down here, data. Sensitive data like credit card numbers, social security numbers, passwords are all very alluring to cyber criminals. Data that has not been encrypted is a common target. What do cyber criminals do with the data they steal? Well, they either exploit it themselves or they sell it on the dark web to those thousands of people that are just dying to get a hold of your information. The dark web is a big marketplace for criminals looking to buy and sell personal information. Network assets. Criminals want to exploit routers, unmanaged computers that are connected to your networks. And then by doing so, they can freeze the entire company and government assets remotely. Kind of like they freeze NWAX stuff. Network equipment is always considered susceptible. That's where routers and firewalls must be used to deter the cyber criminals from entering the private networks. All right, page 5. The CIA triad. All right. Data protection is a serious business. What can be done to make sure business and organizations have proper safeguards? You might have heard about the CIA triad. It stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It doesn't stand for the Central Intelligence Agency. That's a federal thing. That's different CIA. This is just saying the confidentiality, integrity, availability triad. This is a security resource created for business and organizations to guide their IT security practices. So let's see, information security, integrity. Integrity. Okay, I clicked on integrity. That ensures that the online information is trustworthy and it's accurate. Any data that moves around the internet can be changed. So this can pose problems for people who depend on it being reliable. Availability. That ensures that the data is available and accessible to satisfy your business needs. That focuses on basic hardware and allowing other areas of security to run smoothly without interruption. Confidentiality is a set of rules that limits access to certain information. It prevents sensitive information from landing in the wrong hands. So that's the CIA triad. All right. Last page. Implementing the CIA triad. Confidentiality. That protects information through the use of passwords, account numbers, verification codes, or other methods. There are always ways to ensure the confidentiality of data, but the most widely used is cryptography. Cryptography, that's the study of secure communication techniques that allow only the sender and the intended recipient of a message to view its contents. It's been around for hundreds of years. Try it for yourself. Can you decode this message? This is a really cool. I like this cipher. This is a really cool cipher that you can send message to other people. So if you get a message like this, so you've got this little sideways V with a dot inside of it, that means you got to use one of these. You don't use the tic-tac-toe, you use the X, and use the one that has the dot inside of it. So that means that this side with the dot, that means that's an X. This is one of the tic-tac-toe triangles. It's that middle one on the left, the one with the dot. So that's an M. This is just a backwards L. That's this part of the tic-tac-toe board. Does not have the dot. So that's an A. Here's the bottom part in the bottom corner, but it has a dot. So it's the R. We got X, M, A, R. Here's a tic-tac-toe top with a dot. So that's a K. And just a V with no dot, that makes it an S. So this is X marks, and if we do that, it's going to be the spot. X marks the spot. If we click on that, it kind of tells you what those things are. X figure with a dot. So this is a pretty cool cipher because you can just draw it up. You don't even have to have it printed for someone to read your code. If they know to make this, 2 tic-tac-toe boards and 2 X's, and then fill in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, P, Q, R, and then all the rest of the letters fit in those 2 X's. You can make one of these ciphers real simply. It's a great way to send it. Oh, there's the answer. X marks the spot. Integrity can be protected using several methods. Regular backups, time stamping, electronic signatures. They also use hashing algorithms, certificates, digital signatures, and non-repudiation. That means the assurance that someone cannot deny something. Availability is implemented using data backup, patching, and redundant systems. Redundancy guarantees fault tolerance. It means when a primary system fails, the secondary system is available to continue the delivery of functions and services. So here's the bottom line. The CIA triad looks different depending on who's using it, because different organizations have different policies. For example, a school might have a different data protection requirement than a manufacturing company would need. But each should have the same interest in ensuring their data is secure. All right, that's the last page of the lesson. This is read the lesson, understand it, and take your quiz. Here is the questions that go with this assignment. Which the following is the best description of criminal activity during an active attack? What's the best description of an outside attack? What helps deter criminals from targeting computer software? Which security models used to guide business organizations' IT security? What's a legal way to consent and approve documents and forms? So, all right, guys. Not bad. We got it in 35 minutes. We have 45 minutes of the class. 2 lessons this week, 102, 103. So those are due Sunday night. You got plenty of time. Get those done. And we'll be here Thursday for anyone whose grade is below 70%. I haven't checked to see who that is. If your grade is below 70%, I guess you saw that in grade check. You already had your grade check, so you've already looked to see what your grades are. Otherwise, we'll see you next Tuesday. But I'll be here Thursday if you got questions.